Hello everybody, welcome to the lunch table. My name's Evan. Today I'm joined with Zach, Joel, and Nick, and today we're going to be giving our free agency grades. Free agency's kind of died down here, but lots of moves happened. Lots of teams got a lot better, lots of teams got worse, and we're gonna give our grades for each team. But before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at lunchtable.takes. And we'd like to thank you guys for 100 subscribers. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for the support.
Now we need
Thank you.
500.
Now we need 500. There we go.
But yeah, thank you all for subscribing. We appreciate it. But yeah, we'll start off with the AFC East. Not a whole lot happened in this division, but we'll start off with the Bills. They signed Mitch Trubisky for 2 years, $5.2 million. Yeah, that's one of the big moves that they made.
That's one of the main moves the Bills made.
And then they signed Curtis Samuel for 3 years, $24 million. They re-signed some of their guys. They re-signed Deion Dawkins, AJ Epineza, and Daquan Jones. And the dogs are going nuts. That's all it is.
Welcome home.
But they lost Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morse, Trey White. They had to lose a lot of their defensive guys. So who wants to start us off with the Bills?
I'll start off with my grade. When you have a key addition, your top key addition is Mitch Trubisky. Don't get me wrong, that's a good move, good backup, bringing him back as well. It wasn't really that flashy, and to be honest with you, I feel a lot of the positions they got worse. Especially they got a lot more holes after the fact than they did prior.
Yeah. They're definitely a lot worse of a team after free agency than they were before free agency.
Well, and even you lose a leader like that on the defense in Jordan Poyer. That's a big hole that you have to fill. You re-signed Taylor Rapp, but that's not really going to do any. I don't think that's going to play a big factor. I'm going to give him a C. I'm going to give him a C. I just feel, they've made some potential improvements, but they lost way more than they gained.
I don't know if I really see any improvements, honestly. I mean, I'm not really going to consider Mitch Trubisky.
I would say the biggest improvement that they did make was going from Gabe Davis to Curtis Samuel, and I think that's even.
That's an improvement.
It's a lateral.
I don't even know if that's an improvement.
I don't think that's an improvement.
I think Curtis Samuel is.
It's a different kind of receiver.
It's a different kind of receiver, yeah. So,
I mean, I'm like on the brink of giving these guys a D. I don't think they did anything worthwhile except lose their defense. I mean,
their entire defense is gone. I think I'm going to give them a D+.
Okay, there we go.
Because there's so few teams that had truly great free agencies, it doesn't make sense to give everyone like a decent grade.
Yeah.
That's just my looking at it. I do think it's good that they got Mitch Trubisky as like a competent backup for Josh Allen, and they also re-signed Deion Dawkins, which was big. They didn't re-sign him; they gave him a 3-year extension. But I mean, other than that, they either did a lateral move or they're worse off.
Mostly worse.
Their defense is a shell of what it was last season. So.
Well, their defense was always the issue in the playoffs anyway. So now
they were always hurt, and now they're no longer on the team.
Yeah.
Well, it's finally getting to that point where you're starting to go younger and hoping that
you have to hit on draft picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of their guys on defense were aging, but it still hurts to see them go just for the fact that they don't
still
really have anyone
players,
there. Yeah.
Regardless of their age.
Yeah, they were still good players.
They just weren't healthy.
I think I am going to seriously give them a D. I just don't see anything that they did that's worthwhile. Yeah. And they just I think they're a worse team now than they were in January. Yeah. So, I mean,
I gave them a D too.
Yeah.
For the exact same reasons. I think they got.
I guess I'm just too nice.
I think they got worse.
Just don't be as nice.
They're worse. They're worse now than they were before free agency started. Granted, they didn't have a lot of money, but still, I don't think
they didn't have any money.
Yeah.
They were worse in the league in terms of cap space.
Wait till we get to a different team in the East. I'm gonna have words with them.
All right.
Yeah, but I think they lost more than they gained, and they lost better players. So I'm giving them a D. All right.
C-.
Bump it down.
Bump it down just a tad, man. Just a tad.
Hey, you're the teacher out of all of us.
I know. Last year this was a completely different story. You guys gave A's and I was giving like B's, and you guys are like,
He's
"Wow,
good.
this guy's gonna be a
He's good.
rough
Soft.
teacher."
Hey, well, as a student, we like generous graders.
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it's okay.
That is true. That is true.
Just give everyone an A. That's what we hope for.
Yeah. Show up and pass the class.
Yeah. Hey, if you are in the seat, you pass. That's all it is.
All right. Miami Dolphins. They signed Jordan Brooks for 3 years, 26 mil. Kendall Fuller for 2 years, 16 mil. Johnny Smith for 2 years, 10. And then they also signed. Who did you say, Joel? They signed
Jordan Poyer, Shaq
and
Barrett.
Shaq Barrett.
Anthony Walker also.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert got an extension as well.
And then they lost Jerome Baker, Xavier Howard, and Emmanuel Ogba.
Yeah. The
Oh, you forgot a big one in there, Christian Wilkins.
Christian Wilkins, too,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
Jonnu Smith, the superstar tight end of the Falcons.
Falcons
Man.
legend Jonnu Smith.
do you guys want me to start off again on this one?
Might as well.
Sure.
I'll go with a C plus. I'm gonna give him a C plus for a couple of reasons. Yes, they brought in some key defensive moves that they needed to make. Jordan Poyer, bringing him in, that's a good move. Shaq Barrett, after the 2 Achilles injuries that you had to 2 of your top guys, that's a good move to bring in. Linebacker was an issue for them. They addressed it. Jordan Brooks and Anthony Walker. And then even Kendall Fuller with bringing him in. And that was a guy that I feel a decent amount of teams sought after during free agency. I feel that was a pretty good move. Now, the big thing is I kind of saw the writing on the wall that Christian Wilkins was going to be gone. I think that one was a given. But the Xavier Howard one was a little iffy for me.
That one was rough.
That was
for
an
him.
iffy one for me. So I'm going to give him a C+.
I think I'll give them a C for pretty much the same reasons that you just said. Again, they addressed all their defensive positions of need, Jordan Poyer, Anthony Walker, and company. But losing Christian Wilkins, who is arguably the best player on that defense, is huge. One of the best interior D linemen in the entire NFL, no longer on that team. In terms of run stopping and potentially QB pressures, it is going to make them worse off. But I mean, they improved their secondary, they improved their linebacking core, they brought in a couple edge guys. So those moves were all good. But then losing your best defensive player, I think, kind of equalizes out. So I'll give them a C grade. They did well for what they had because they were also not in a great spot in terms of cap. But there's only so much you can do when you're at that low of money.
I'm also going to give them a C. Pretty much for the same reasons. They lost, obviously, Christian Wilkins, their biggest defensive guy, and they got the kind of mid-tier guys to kind of patch that, but nothing to really put them over the top, so I think C is fair.
Yeah, I was also probably going to give him a C.
So we're all in the row.
Yeah,
We're all
C,
giving them
about
C's,
average,
same
but
range.
I mean, I just think I mean, all of you guys touched on the defense a lot, and I think the defense kind of, I think it evens out with losing Christian Wilkins. I think that evens, like you said, it evens out their defense. But I mean, offensively, on the good note, they didn't lose anything except Mike Gesicki, really. I mean, and they replaced him with Jonnu Smith, who's fine.
That's probably better.
That's probably a
Jonnu
better.
Smith is a more blocking tight end. They've already got Jalen Waddle and
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill.
Well, and he has the potential even to go out
yeah,
and
he
be
can.
that
He's a
receiver.
capable
Yeah.
receiver.
Like even when he was with the Titans, they used him in the backfield as a running back. At
Yeah,
times. So,
I mean, I'm not going to necessarily say Jonnu Smith is a better tight end overall than Mike Gesicki, but I think it's a fine movement, a fine
it's
replacement
pretty lateral.
offensively.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
I think it's pretty lateral.
Yeah, so I mean, they kept intact their extremely high-powered offense defensively. Nothing great, a little bit of bad. I think this is an average free agency
I
period
think
for 'em.
our opinion on the Dolphins is it's just going to come down to how well Tua plays.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, it
that's
was
what
the
it
same
is.
deal
That's
last
usually
year.
how it is.
Yeah,
It's-
what
that's
it
how
is.
it is every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Tua.
it's just
What's Tua gonna do?
Yeah.
If Tua plays well, the Dolphins are an immediate playoff contender. But if he's not playing well, then they're not going to be that
They'll
good.
be a wild card exit.
They gotta
At best.
you gotta keep him away from that cold weather.
Yeah,
Well,
dude,
he's up for
that's
an
what it
extension,
comes
too.
down to.
He is.
That's what it comes down to with a lot of teams in the NFL, but particularly the Dolphins because Tua is so volatile. I feel.
I don't want Shadur playing in any cold weather.
Yeah.
As he's playing in Colorado.
As
right?
they're
Yeah.
playing in
Yeah.
Boulder.
All right, New York Jets. They actually had probably one of the more busy free agencies out of the AFC East. They signed Mike Williams to 1 year, $10 million. John Simpson 2 years, 12. Tyron Smith 1 year, 6.5. They also traded for Morgan Moses to help shore up that offensive line. How do you guys think they did?
I think that they had a pretty good free agency, all things considered. It's not going to really matter if Aaron Rodgers isn't the Aaron Rodgers that they hope of, but I mean, Morgan Moses shoring up that O-line, so as well Tyron Smith, that's a huge get if he can actually stay healthy. They traded for Hassan Reddick. They got Solomon Thomas.
That just happened like yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a big one.
Yeah,
that's
getting Hassan Reddick is
tough.
for that D-line.
They need that.
Yeah, adding Mike Williams. Mike Williams can never really stay healthy, but I mean, when he is healthy, he's an impact receiver.
Yeah.
Kind of parallel Garrett Wilson and company. So I think the Jets improved at a lot of positions. Their defense looks to still be elite, especially with the addition of Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
I'd give them like a B plus, I think. Yeah.
I was gonna probably give him a B. Let me think here. I guess I'll do pluses and minuses. I was debating if I wanted to do pluses and minuses or not, but I guess I'll do it. I'll give him a B plus. So from here on out with my ratings, I will be giving pluses and minuses if I see fit. So thanks for the heads up.
We'll alert the media.
But I think that I would give them a B plus because I actually like their offseason a lot. I think, like you said, their defense was already one of the top 10 in the NFL, and they just added a dominant edge rusher. So I think their defense is going to just get all the more better. Offensively, I'm always an advocate for shoring up the offensive line, no matter what team it is. So obviously, those are two really good additions. The offensive line, I think, is outside of
You've preached that for the past 3 years.
outside of quarterback, offensive line is the most important position on a football team. And that is an objective fact.
That's probably true.
That is an objective fact.
Yeah. It's probably the most important unit.
Yeah.
It's the most important unit, but I think outside of the quarterback, it's the most important position on the field, both sides of the ball. I think that is an objective fact. So I think it's like anytime you're fixing up the offensive line, I won't complain. So
I mean,
as long as it's not stupid.
Definitely got better than Mekhi Becton.
Yeah. So I like what they did on the offensive line. Mike Williams, in my opinion, that's kind of like a whatever move because I don't really. I mean,
I like that move a ton.
Mike Williams is good. He just has to stay healthy.
I like that move a ton because it takes a lot of stress off of Garrett Wilson.
But he's just not healthy at all. Like throughout his career, he hasn't been consistently healthy. So
he had one healthy season, and
he was good. But it's just like I think it's one of those things where it's like you're taking a shot on a guy. You know, it's like
1 year, 15 mil. I think 15 mil is a lot for a 1 year deal. But I mean, it's a 1 year deal. If it doesn't work out, you can move on from him after the season.
Yeah, I think he's a good wide receiver too, for sure. I mean, as long as Garrett Wilson's their guy, so I think that's a good wide receiver too. I think $15 million was a little bit much, but just take a shot on him. I don't hate that. In my opinion, I'm not like, oh, that's insane, but I'm not like that was stupid. I think it's just kind of like, okay, solid addition. But yeah, I think the reason I give him a B plus is because I like their defense so much. I really like Hassan Reddick is going to make that defense just absolutely nasty, and they already got
Quentin Williams
on the interior, and that dude is might be the best tackle in the NFL. So
like D tackle,
yeah,
he's up there.
he's definitely.
And then
up
you've
there.
got Sauce,
He's definitely up there for sure.
and then you've got Sauce, who might be the best corner. I think this is a good defense.
I feel one guy that gets left out of all this, that even at his old team he got undershadowed, is Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, I was about to say I just saw that Javon Kinlaw.
Javon Kinlaw. You just talk about Quentin Williams. You have Javon Kinlaw next to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Good luck running through that.
yeah. That's dynamic right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you throw in Hassan Reddick. You have Jermaine Johnson Jr. Like their D line. Yeah, their D line got extremely
Their
better.
defense is gross. Their
It-
defense
it's
is like top
disgusting.
3 in the NFL.
It's disgusting,
Good.
but it's just been
Well, and
so
see-
impacted by quarterback play.
Well, and see, that's what I was going to say. Like, their defense is so good, it needs to be. Because if Aaron Rodgers is not playing or not playing well, this team is screwed. But their defense can still keep them in
their
games.
defense has been a top 3 defense the past 2 years, and it hasn't mattered because Zach Wilson's been so terrible.
Yeah, but their defense can at least keep them in games, though, if Aaron Rodgers is not playing. But I think this is another case like Tua where it does heavily depend on quarterback play. If not,
Although
they're
they
not gonna make
got
playoffs.
Tyrod Taylor, so
He's better than
he's
Zach
better
Wilson.
than Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
So-
Well, even Aaron Rodgers at his worst is still better than Zach
Yeah.
Wilson.
Well, yeah.
So,
I'll give him B plus 2.
alright. I'm also giving him a B+.
Plus is
I mean, you roll out an offensive line now with Tyron Smith, John Simpson, Joe Tittman, AVT, and then Morgan Moses. That's a huge upgrade to what it was before, and I think they were one of the worst offensive lines in the league.
Yep.
And then you have a front seven now of John Franklin Myers, Javon Kinlaw, Quinion Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Hassan Reddick, CJ Mosley, and Quincy Williams with Sauce Gardner behind them. That's a great defense too. So I think and DJ Reed too, yeah. So I think they got. I mean, the biggest need for them this year, going into free agency, was offensive line, and they heavily addressed that, and I think they did well. The only thing is, a lot of the guys they got have a lot of injury history, so they just have to hope and pray that they can stay on the field, and if they can, they're going to be a really good team.
taking a shot in the dark, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to B+. All right, the New England Patriots. They had the most cap space in the NFL, but didn't really do a whole lot with it. Their biggest signings were Antonio Gibson for 3 years, 11 mil, and then Jacoby Brissett for 1 year, 8 mil, and then they re-signed Michael Winu, Hunter Henry, and Kendrick Bourne. Joel, what do you think of their
I think they could have done more, obviously. They still brought in a guy like Kyle Duggar. They re-signed Kyle Duggar, which is a big one, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing great, nothing crazy. I'm probably going to have a higher grade because they kept a lot of their guys. And especially with a new culture, you want to have your guys, and obviously they wanted to keep those. And you got rid of Mac Jones, so
It's true.
I'm going to go off that, and I'm going to give him a C. So nothing crazy, nothing. It's not.
I have a couple of words I'd like to say about this game.
Do you want to go now?
No, let's save it. Let's save it.
We'll
Let's
save
save
it.
it.
I'm not going to go on that long of a rant. I just...
Let's save it.
We'll save you
wait.
for last.
I think I'll give them a C+. The thing is, like, they didn't do anything. They had the most cap space in the NFL. They're not in the position to splurge right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think re-signing Michael Wenwu is like huge for them.
Yep.
He's one of the best young linemen in the league. Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, 19.5 mil. I mean,
He's one of the bright sides of that wide
he's one of the
receiving
brighter
core.
sides of that offense. So keeping him is big. KJ Osborne was good when the Vikings had a bit of receiver injury issues this year.
So that's a good number 2.
Yeah, good number 2. I mean, Josh Uche is whatever. Kyle Duggar he's good, but I mean, it's whatever. But I mean, I don't think the Patriots were a team in a position to splurge their cap space to try to win now.
Yeah.
So I think getting some like solid core guys for whichever quarterback they draft at number 3 is good for them. So, although they didn't sign any like huge impact players, I like what they did in terms of their future and the direction that they're trying to go. So I'll give them a C+.
I would agree.
Yeah. I'm giving them a C. They re-signed all their guys, but they missed out. They were in the running to get Calvin Ridley. They didn't end up getting him. So they still have a wide receiver core of Juju, Demario Douglas, and Kendrick Bourne, which is not.
Is Juju still there?
That's what it says on the depth chart.
I
But
thought he only signed a 1 year.
which is not great.
That's still not great.
But they did upgrade a quarterback. Jacoby Brissett's better than Mac. And
Also
yeah,
a former Patriot.
also from Patriot. So
Yeah,
I think their offseason heavily depends on who they drafted 3, which we all knew kind of going into it. But yeah, that's why I gave them a C, just because they re-signed their key guys, but they didn't bring anybody to really elevate that team.
All right, well, my thought on this offseason so far...
Are you gonna give them like an F?
No, Lord. No. I will be giving them a D, though. And I am doing pluses and minuses. So this is like 2 or 3 steps below what you guys did. I am not really thrilled with this offseason. They brought back Mike, whatever his last name is.
Onwenu.
That's awesome. Love that. But your thing of like, oh, dude, they brought back what's his face? Kendrick Bourne. He's their guy. Dude, this guy
I did not say it like that. I did not say it like that. You twist my words so much.
Kendrick,
And it's
like
frustrating.
you are running a receiving core of Juju, Kendrick Bourne,
And
KJ Osborne,
And
and
Jalen
or Demario Douglas or
You twist
whatever
my
his name
words
is.
so
Jalen
much.
Rager's on that team too. Okay, that's your receiver room. Like, are you serious right now?
You twist
Like-
my words so much, and it pisses me off.
You said Kendrick. You emphasized Kendrick Bourne.
That was me.
Well,
that was you then.
That
He's
was-
okay.
Well, and he was their one bright spot
Yeah.
on their wide receiver.
Oh,
core
that's
last
what it
year.
was, and I said that's the problem. And And like
Well,
Kendrick Bourne is like.
Can we not highlight that he had a decent year last year with
all the circumstances?
The problem is that he's their best receiver.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I get that, but
like Kendrick Bourne, in my eyes, is like a solid wide receiver too.
Yeah,
you took my words and you went.
Like he's like Kendrick Bourne. Like if Kendrick Bourne is the bright spot of this offense, it's a problem. Like it's not a great offense.
I think they're saving their cap space for the future, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I think that's the direction they're trying to go. That's why I liked what they did.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot more holes than just receiver.
Oh, I know. I'm just highlighting that.
It's not like, you sign a Calvin Ridley and you're immediately a playoff team.
I'm not even saying Calvin Ridley would have been the answer because Calvin Ridley's like 29.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm okay with it if they're saving some of their cap money for future off seasons when better guys are on the market. But for them to do like the little amount that they did, I think is a little questionable. Because like the other thing that you said, where it's like, hey, like you mentioned something about, hey, like we got like a new a new culture or a new regime. In my eyes, if that's the case, you want to bring in new guys. You know? Like, I don't really want to bring back...
But you got to also think about this. This coach that they bring in was under the same... He coached...
Jared Mayo.
I know.
Jared Mayo was still there.
I know,
and he's worked with these guys. He knows these guys. He knows the culture that they can bring to the table.
I know, but this is a team of guys that got you 3 wins last year. Or what was it, 4 wins?
It doesn't matter. 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah, like, I just... Like
with the worst quarterback situation in the league.
Yeah,
Mac
Jones
that's a good thing. Like Mac Jones and Jacoby Brissett is a good backup. So obviously Jacoby Brissett's going to probably be the backup for whoever they take at 3. I would imagine.
Yeah,
so I mean, I like that situation, but like I don't know. I just think like when I saw the Patriots had like over 100, they had like 100 million in cap space. Like when I saw that, like I'm drooling. I'm like, oh baby. Like you can turn this franchise around, and I don't think they've really done a lot with all that money, you know. So, like I said, they brought back the linemen. That's great. They got Jacoby Brissett as an upgrade from Mac Jones, and he'll probably be the backup. That's great. Hunter Henry is a solid tight end to bring back. I think you guys mentioned they brought a couple guys on defense back, which is good. But they have a lot of holes defensively and offensively. It's a rough team. I don't know if I think. Oh man. I mean, their skill room is unreal.
A couple years ago when we were like the Texans were so awful?
Yeah.
And they weren't really like, they were getting a bunch of core guys and then filling in holes through the draft.
Yep.
And then this offseason, we'll get to the Texans in a little bit, but this offseason, they like splurged. They got what they needed. I think that's what the Patriots...
Yeah.
How the Texans were in like 2019, 2020 is how the Patriots are now.
I also do think, though, if the Patriots hit on their draft picks this year and they select a good quarterback at 3 and it goes well for them, then I think that this could be a solid team. And then they have a lot of money like next offseason when there's a better market and stuff. But, like, I don't know. I was hoping to see them do a little bit more than they did. That's my point.
Fair enough.
But... yeah, they've got to get some. Well, and at number 3, they're going quarterback at number 3, which they have to do. But the issue is,
you get receiver at 32, 33.
I know, and
there's still going to be guys at 33.
I know. I'm just saying,
getting around one talent.
Like they're just. This is a really, really bad skill room. Except for, I think the running back room is all right. Antonio Gibson and Ramondre. I think that's a solid running back duo. But man, this is a really bad receiving room. So that's my take. I'll give him a D.
All right. Let's move on to the AFC North. Start off with the Ravens. Their big signing was Derrick Henry for 2 years, $16 million. They re-signed Justin Matabuke for 4 years, $98.
That was a big one.
Yeah, that was huge.
And then they lost Patrick Queen, Geno Stone. Some other big losses. Nick, we'll start with you. What do you grade their offseason?
I think I will give their offseason a B. I think. Here's the thing. It was really high and then also really low. Like, re-signing Justin Matabuke, getting Derrick Henry, 2 slam dunk moves. Yep. But then losing Patrick Queen and Geno Stone to division rivals.
I was going to say, division rivals.
Yeah,
both
the big
of them.
thing for me is that they're going to teams that you're going to play twice a year.
Well, did you hear what Patrick Queen said in his press conference? He wants to be the villain.
Oh, I believe it.
He wants to be the villain. That's why he signed there.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really have a
Bengals.
need for either position. You don't really need like Patrick Queen or Geno Stone if you got Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton. But like,
Boy, that helps.
yeah, it does help. But I mean, losing those two guys it's still huge. Like those are two probably top 5 players in their position in the league last year. I would say. And them going to the division rivals, that leaves a real sour taste. It would leave a real sour taste in my mouth if I was a Ravens fan. Benefits you guys, and then also hurts you guys.
Salt in the wound.
Yeah.
Salt in the wound.
But I mean, I think re-signing Justin Madubuike and getting Derrick Henry is going to add a whole nother level of potency to their rushing attack.
Yep.
Like you thought it was bad before, adding Derrick Henry is making it so much worse. But I think I'd give them a B. I think they had a good offseason with getting Derrick Henry and re-signing Madubuike, but I mean, losing those two guys hurts a lot for me. So.
I'm going to give them a B minus because I think, obviously, like you said, Nick, with Derrick Henry, their rushing attack with him and Lamar is going to be very hard to stop. I'm not looking forward to that. But I think them losing Geno Stone and Patrick Queen is going to end up hurting them because both of those guys, like you said, were top in their position. Patrick Queen was, I think didn't he have like 100 tackles? And then Geno Stone had 7 picks last year, so that obviously
They were both key
hurt.
pieces of that defense.
Yeah. Plus, you lose Mike McDonald, so that defense could look a little bit different.
Yeah.
But they still have, like you said, the core pieces of Roquan Smith and Madubuike and Kyle Hamilton, so they still should be fine. But I
That's
think
a trio right there.
yeah, but I think B minus is fair because they got like you said, they hit some slam dunks, but then they also lost some key players.
Zach?
I'm going to give him a B. I'm just going to stick with a B on this one because I think that we saw offense get a lot better and defense get worse. So, I mean...
But their defense was already like elite. So their defense went from here to like here.
It did
But
take a step.
you do also have to keep in mind that they lost Mike McDaniel.
Yeah,
or
we'll see
whatever
how-
the
we'll
heck
see
it's
how
called,
big that is.
or whatever. That's not great. I mean,
That's tough to deal with.
they
but at the
lost
same
him
time-
and they lost 2 of their key players. I mean, I don't know. It's still going to be a stout defense, obviously, but I don't think their defense is going to be as dominant as it was this year. Like their defense was just
That's a
next
hard
level
feat to
dominant.
repeat, though.
Yeah.
So I mean, their defense definitely took a step down. Offense,
You just got a lot more dynamic.
yeah, that's not great.
Zach, I hate to barge in here, but you get to deal with not only Lamar Jackson, but now Derrick Henry.
I dealt with him for a long time. It's not fun. It's not fun.
And
trying
that
to tackle
just hear me out on this.
He is
too.
also going to be 30 though, so like I don't know if
But he's also
Buddy.
not going to be the focal point.
Of the
Him
offense.
and Lamar are going to like.
I know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
He's
but
not going to be a workhorse.
I know. But I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think
It's-
we're going to see like the same like just
2,000
egregiously
yards
dominant.
No, that's
Like,
not going to be.
So like
it's not.
I don't like that. I mean, obviously, like if I'm a Ravens fan, like I'm like, oh, this is great, but I'm not like, oh, this is like. I mean,
Well,
this
wait,
is
so-
it.
If
Like,
they got
no.
him like 5 years ago, then it would
Then-
be like,
If they got him
oh,
5 years ago, yeah, you're like, oh crap, this is bad. But now, like getting him now, it's like, okay, this
This
is a good.
sucks, but it's like manageable.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
It
kind of
takes-
where I'm at. It's like the offense is better, but I'm not like, holy crap! Like
It takes it to a new dynamic, big time, because you go from a guy like Gus Edwards. Don't get me wrong, Gus Edwards is
hey, Gus ain't
serviceable.
bad, man.
He's serviceable.
He's a bad running back.
But Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry, Gus Edwards.
oh, I'm taking Derrick Henry.
Derrick
today,
Henry in a
but,
heartbeat. But you add that element. Zay Flowers, boom, last year. You have that. If they can get a second, like,
Receiver.
consistent receiver,
Yeah.
other than, obviously, Mark Andrews is there too. But that offense is up here. It's elite.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough offense to stop. I'll give him a B. That's my thought.
I mean,
I'm going to give him a B too.
Yeah, it's not like I don't think it's an A because I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be the difference in them beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
5 years ago, I would give him an A for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, like I agree. I don't think Derrick Henry is gonna make you.
I
beat
don't
Patrick
think
Mahomes
adding
in the
Derrick
playoffs.
Henry is going to be able to have you top of Kansas City.
I mean, adding Derrick Henry is gonna make freaking Bengals have nightmares, but what else is new?
No, it's gonna make Zach have nightmares.
And the Bengals. So it's like, what else is new though?
Derrick Henry's gonna run for 150 yards, and you're gonna wake up in a cold sweat thinking about him gashing your defensive line.
Oh, it's gonna happen. But I'll tell you what though, they still aren't beating Mahomes and the Chiefs, so I love to see that.
We'll see.
All right, moving on to the Browns. We should not take long to talk about them.
They added two guys.
They signed they signed Zadarius Smith for 2 years, $23 million. They signed Jameis Winston for 1 year, $4 million, and they traded for Jerry Jeudy. Nick, what are your thoughts?
I think their big move was Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I think I'm gonna give them like a C minus. I mean, Jerry Jeudy. That in theory, he's good, but we're still waiting for that like leap.
He's like the guy that just wait till he breaks out.
Yeah.
And
Will
you're sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting for it to happen.
Yeah. He's like you're waiting for this guy to take that next step.
Yeah.
To like solid wide receiver to like 1,000+ yard season, and it just he hasn't done it yet. I don't know if going from Russell Wilson to Deshaun Watson is going to do that for him.
Probably makes it worse.
Yeah,
I think it'll make it worse.
Deshaun Watson at least throws the ball in the middle of the field.
Re-signing
Hey, Russell Wilson had a lot of yards this year, though.
This is Darius Smith.
Re-signing Zadarius Smith was big for them, huge for that defense, huge for that defensive line. But I mean, other than that, he didn't really do anything. And Deshaun Watson contract it's gonna bite real hard starting this year.
I'm waiting for that day to come.
Because they're not going to be able to make any moves for the next like 4 years. So this is the first offseason where that Deshaun Watson contract is really rearing its head because they're not able to make impact moves on maybe their receiving core that they need to do to take that next step because Deshaun Watson's taking up way too much money.
50%.
50% of the cap or something.
They're giving 50% of their cap to a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually 50%. It's probably like 15, 20%. But still,
It's a hefty sum.
that's an absurd amount for a 22-man roster.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a C minus. I think they didn't really improve. But Zadarius Smith getting re-signed was a good move, and Jerry Jeudy, it's like, if that works out, this grade will be a lot higher. Yeah. But as of right now, we don't really know what we're getting with him.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and give him a C plus because I'm a little bit more on the. Obviously, Deshaun Watson's terrible, and they're paying him way more money than he should ever see in his life. But
this coming from us that sit here and just watch football.
No, that's real.
Dude, Joe Flacco's better than him.
I know, I know. But I'm just laughing.
I would have rather seen the Browns start Joe Flacco next season. I mean,
Congrats,
honestly
Colts.
speaking, though. But hey, anyways, though, I think other than that part, other than just Deshaun Watson being just garbage, I think that the Browns are in the position where they didn't really need to do much. This is a really good team. This is a great football team. A nasty defense and a very good offense outside of quarterback and a little bit of receiver. So, like, I'm on the fence of, like, or not. I'm on the part of, like, they didn't need to do much. If Jerry Jeudy hits, that's great. Then it just makes their receiving core a little bit more, like, shored up then. Because
their receiving core is good if Jerry Jeudy hits.
Yes. If he doesn't hit, then their receiving core is okay.
If it hits, you have Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and Elijah Moore.
That's good.
That's a great.
If Jerry Jeudy hits. If it doesn't hit, then they're about where they were last year, which is fine. They still have David Njoku at tight end, who isn't.
He's good.
He's a good tight end. He's a very good tight end.
Njoku went off last.
He was a beast.
He's a good tight end.
He broke out last year.
So I think I'm going to give him a C plus because I think that they had an average offseason, but I didn't think they needed to do anything more. I mean, Deshaun Watson is going to bite him in the butt for the foreseeable future because he's completely terrible and they're giving him a lot of money. I think that they would be better off with a Flacco or someone else, honestly. But I think that's my thought. I'm giving him a C plus.
B minus for me.
For the same reasons they didn't.
Pretty similar. I think the big one for me, Jerry Jeudy's a big one, but as Nick alluded to, I think the biggest thing that they did was re-sign Zadarius Smith. You need a guy across from Myles Garrett that can take some of that pressure off.
We talked about this with the preseason predictions when I had Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year, I was like adding Zadarius Smith, taking some pressure off of Myles Garrett. I think it's going to do wonders, and it ended up like being as good as it possibly could.
Yeah. So bringing that guy back in was huge, and it's a big thing. They could have gone a lot farther this past year if their competent QB play and their offensive line stayed healthy. Because when you got to your fourth string defensive tackle,
Yeah, I just think that Watson's garbage. I just want to make sure that point's valid.
you heard it here first, folks.
I'm
for
gonna
the
give them-
50th time.
I'm going to give them a C- just because Jerry Jeudy, he's been in the league for 4 years, has never had over 1,000 yards. He gave up 2 picks to get him. I mean, we talk about...
I mean, they're a 5th and a 6th.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
know.
like, who really cares?
But we talk about... I mean, he's 24, so he could still be better. But I just like we've said with Deshaun Watson, I don't really see that happening. But I also think, not on what they did, but the rest of the division got a lot better. And they kind of just stayed the same. So that kind of factored into it as well. Because I think all 3 teams made
Moves to get
big
better.
moves to get better, and they didn't really do anything. So that lowered my grade.
It just helps that they had a lot already in place.
Yeah, they already had it.
Yeah, that was my thought.
Excuse me.
All right, now the Steelers, they were pretty busy. They signed Patrick Queen.
So that's how we're doing
Pretty
this.
busy is an understatement.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, no, they did pretty well. They signed Patrick Queen for 3 years, $41 million. They got Russell Wilson on only $1 million because the Broncos are paying the majority of his contract. They traded for Justin Fields. They traded for Dante Jackson. They traded away Deontay Johnson. So yeah, they traded Kenny Pickett as well. So yeah, their quarterback room went from Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, which I would say is a pretty big upgrade.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get mine out of the way real quick. Keep it short. I'm going to go ahead and give these guys a B+. I think that they had a really good offseason, unfortunately. I think that the addition of Patrick Queen is terrifying because their defense is already nasty and they already have TJ Watt and they just got this guy. So that's great.
This guy.
So that's awesome. That's a huge addition for him. I think their quarterback room took leaps and miles and bounds advance.
Improvements, yeah.
Yeah, because Kenny Pickett should not even be playing college football right now. and Mitch Trubinsky is bad. And who's the other guy they have? What's his face?
Mason Rudolph.
That guy is horrible.
He was the best of the 3.
Mason Rudolph is
I
awful.
wouldn't say he was the best of the 3. I wouldn't call him awful. I'd call him like bad.
He beat the
He's not
Bengals
good.
last
Yeah.
year.
Killed
That's
the
not
Bengals.
saying much. The Bengals, never mind.
He
But
led them to the postseason.
He did.
Mason Rudolph is
He's in the Titans
terrible.
now.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph is awful.
He did lead him to the playoffs.
I am
Famous batting
so.
practice for Myles Garrett.
I think that I think that the Steelers. Yeah. I think that the Steelers.
You did not just say that.
I did.
I think that the Steelers got a lot better just in the fact that they got rid of Kenny Pickett. And then obviously Russell Wilson is a good addition. And all right. I'm giving him a B+. Take it from here.
I'm gonna give him an A- because I think they had one of the best moves of the offseason, bringing in Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick. There is no way on God's green earth you should be getting Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah,
you
that's
should have been
absurd.
giving up a lot more.
Should have
than
been like
that.
a 3rd round, probably.
Yeah.
Like a 3rd or a 4th.
I would say that, and it brings the question clearly in the draft to I would say 2 positions. You need a wide receiver, and you need offensive line. Those are the 2 big things that I think you need,
Those are 2 premier positions in this draft.
and they are, and I feel that factors into it. But you open up the door for a great quarterback battle to figure out who's going to be your number 1. And I think this team, Pittsburgh, in my opinion, was one of the teams that took the biggest steps this offseason. I'm going to give them an A-.
Yeah, we joke about the Steelers. We've joked about how like they're just a bad team that somehow stumbles their way into the postseason.
Which is true.
yeah,
Until
it was. Like
I mean,
last year, this past season, they were probably the worst team I've ever seen make the playoffs. Like
the
I'm just-
Steelers were not good.
they
for
were
the
not
last
a good
several
football
years.
team. And the year before before that, they missed the postseason. They went 9-8.
Yeah.
Like, they've been hovering around that 9-8, like 10-7 wild card
I
blowout
just can't
first round.
stand that team.
Yeah, they don't go away ever.
It's like even they are awful and they're still winning 9 games. Like, why?
I will give them a B plus. I don't think any of these moves are going to take them from 9 or 10 wins to 12 or 13. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I could see. I think this team will be like a 10-win team again next year.
That's fair.
To
And
be
playing in the
honest,
division they play in.
but I mean, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's probably going to be the starter this year. But then, I mean, you give up a 6th-round pick for a guy who, if he can,
24 years old.
if he can pan out, has enormous
Upside.
quarterback of the future upside.
Yeah.
And I mean, stealing Patrick Queen, top 5 linebacker in the league, because they needed that on their defense. Getting Dante Jackson. I mean, I low-key think they got fleeced in that Dante Jackson trade. They gave up Deontay Johnson for Dante Jackson, a 6th-round pick, and Deontay Johnson's like a good receiver. He's a
But
pretty
he did
solid
not
receiver.
want to be there.
Yeah,
No,
I
he
didn't
was
think he would
not.
do either.
he was done.
But yeah, I think Patrick Queen is huge. I think their quarterback room got a big upgrade. I just don't see them being a true contender in the AFC, even with these moves. So I'll give them like a B plus.
Yeah, I'm going to go B plus as well. I think you significantly upgraded your quarterback room. You added Patrick Queen just for fun. And then, yeah, you did take a hit at receiver. Like, your literal only receiver right now is
George
George
Pickens.
Pickens.
You had James Washington.
George Pickens is good though.
Yeah, but
He
who
is
else?
good.
Washington
But
brother.
you still need more.
Yeah.
You need more than
James
just
Washington.
George Pickens.
Yeah, I think they did really well. I think they definitely got a lot better. But we'll see how Russ and Justin play because they're both kind of a bit unknown. We'll see how Arthur Smith does those.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Don't start. We'll see how he does
You
with
just let us write
Their
down that
grade
path.
went to an F.
You just
Yeah.
let us write down that path there.
I say is, please don't let them take Brian Thomas.
Yeah, that'd be terrifying.
I think it might happen.
I know. I don't want it to. All right, let's go to the Bengals and let's not talk for an hour on this, guys.
I'm going to keep it short here.
Okay, good. So
I'm
they
going to keep it short here. Proceed to
am.
talk for 20
So they
minutes.
signed Geno Stone, like we talked about, for 2 years, $15 million. They traded and signed for Zach Moss. Or no, sorry, they didn't trade for Zach Moss. They signed Zach Moss.
Yep.
For 2 years, $8 million. Signed Mike Gesicki for 1 year, 2.5. Signed Sheldon Rankins for 2 year, 24. Got Von Bell back, and then they signed Trent Brown for 1 year, 4.75. But they did lose Joe Mixon, DJ Reader, and yeah.
All right, I'm going to give these guys an A minus.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what that look was for, but I'm going to give these guys an A minus. I think the Bengals had, after further thought and
After the immediate
after the
immediate
reaction.
after the immediate emotions
Where
and
he said-
reactions, I think the
sitting on their
Bengals
butts,
actually
doing
They
nothing.
didn't do anything.
I think the Bengals actually had one of the best off seasons in the entire league, to be honest with you. Geno Stone's a huge addition, bringing Von Bell back. He probably won't start, but he's going to be a really good leader for the locker room. Sheldon Rankings is good for the defensive line. However, losing DJ Reader is not great. Offensively speaking, bringing in that tackle, what's his name again, Evan?
Sheldon Rankins.
No.
Or Trent Brown.
Trent Brown, that's it, Trent Brown. Bringing him in is a great addition for now, but I'm still not hopping off of the draft a lineman because
You've been on that. You've been on that for the
It
past
needs-
3 years.
and it needs
Have they
to
done it once?
no,
And it's not going to happen this year.
and that's stupid to be honest.
It's
with you,
going to be a
because-
defensive tackle or a wide receiver.
And see we're not. I'm not even going to talk about.
We're not gonna get.
We're not gonna
I'm
get
not
into
gonna
that.
get draft, but they still got to fix the offense. They still have to fix the offensive line for the future because this is a 1-year deal for this guy. He's 30 years old. Like, yes, does it
Fill a hole now.
Yes,
Yes.
but we
It
need
fills
a
a
guy who's gonna be there for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like they gotta draft a guy.
It fills a hole for the window right now because you're not bringing T. Higgins back next year.
So they need to draft a lineman to.
I'm
be there
saying-
for a while.
what my point is, they're going all in to get this season right here. Trent Brown's your other side. You're not bringing T. Higgins back next year.
Yes.
And from there, yes, I get it. But that's why I feel Trent Brown was the pick.
I don't think that
makes sense.
If we're talking draft wise, I don't think that we should keep neglecting this position, because every single offseason it's like, okay, yeah, they need offensive line, and then they go out and get someone to patch and like, oh, never mind, we don't need it. It's like, and then what happens? Joe Burrow gets sacked 80 times. It's the same story. Like, they've got to draft a guy who's going to be there and develop for a lot of years. They cannot keep patching it. They've got to draft it and fix it. Anyways, though, that was a good like, once again, it was a good 1 year patch. But Zach Moss is a great addition. Zach Moss is a great addition at running back. He's going to faster, better pass protector. So we're going to hopefully be more dynamic on the ground. Overall, I think this is a great offseason. Pending the draft, we'll see what they do in the draft. But I think a lot of this hinges on Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow comes back to himself and healthy, then this is going to be a Super Bowl contending team. And if they can actually keep him upright, we'll see. But I think that overall they had a great offseason. For now, we'll see when the draft comes around.
I'm going to give them a B. Dang. I feel like they definitely made moves to get better. Sheldon Rankins is a good ad. Geno Stone's a great ad. Zach Moss, too. Trent Brown definitely, like I said, fills a position of need. And especially in this 1 year gap that you're hoping to get that playoff final, that push into the Super Bowl that you're hoping for. The big issue for me is still defensive line. That DJ Reader loss
that's massive. That's
huge. DJ Reader was the foundation of your defensive line for the past how many years? 3, 4? He's been the reason why, especially when they made those runs to the playoffs, protecting the run. DJ Reader's that big guy. Sheldon Rankins, he's more of your pass rushing type defensive tackle. You need a guy that's going to be able to plug that hole, and I feel like there's really not one there right now. And based simply off that, I mean, yes, they got better, but I feel that departure, that loss, and the whole situation with T. Higgins is where I'm at with the B.
I'm going to give them a B minus. I think I've talked about this a couple times.
So I went from being too low on them to too high on them now.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give them...
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think that we've talked about this a couple times. I think they traded their next year or two of like being an A1 elite Super Bowl contender for a 5 to 7 year window after this year of being like in a position where 1 or 2 good off seasons could propel you to
which is another reason why I gave him an A.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think they're better. I just think they're different. Like, me personally.
Yeah. I can...
Zach Moss is really good. Like, I mean, I know firsthand how good Zach Moss is. We just didn't have a need for him. I mean, we have Jonathan Taylor. We just didn't have a need for him. But he's a beast. 1,000-yard rusher last year.
Yep.
Sheldon Rankins is... I'm not going to say it's a bad addition. He's just a different type of D tackle, and their run defense was awful.
Atrocious.
It was so bad. The Bengals' run defense was terrible last year.
He's definitely more of your pass rusher.
Yeah. But, I mean, Geno Stone, I think Geno Stone was one of the best moves of the offseason by any team. I think getting a top 5 safety in the league for $15 million is a steal.
Ballhawk.
Yeah. A steal of a move. And then Mike Gesicki, 1 year, $3.25 million. I mean, if it looked like a couple years ago he was going to be a superstar, and I don't know what happened
there.
He's finally going to learn how to hit the gritty.
That was the other thing that I wanted to talk about too with the Bengals. Well, it's kind of the same deal with offensive line because like
you don't have a clear-cut foundation tight end,
and they don't. Yeah, like
you patch it every year.
They're doing the same thing they do with the O line with the tight end, and
and
obviously. I'm more okay with them doing that with tight end than I am offensive line, but like it's the same story. It's like, are we going to get somebody in here that's going to be like a foundation for a while, or are we just going to keep streaming guys? You know,
yeah. I mean, franchise tagging T. Higgins is. I think T. Higgins will end up playing.
Oh, I think
on
he's
the
good.
franchise tag this year. But I mean, you're not bringing him back next year. This is the last year that you're going to have T. Higgins. I mean, it's just they wanted to extend their lifespan, which is kind of what you got to do when you got a guy like Joe Burrow on a second deal.
Yeah.
You should have him for the next 10 years.
If they fix the offensive line.
And in an ideal world, he's going to be your quarterback for the next decade. So I think they kind of just extended their lifespan. I wouldn't say that they're in the upper echelon of like AFC teams, but I would say that they're in the second tier, personally.
Even with like a healthy Burrow, you're still putting them like not in the top AFC contenders.
There are 3 teams, I think, that are in the upper echelon, and then the Bengals I would probably have the top of that second tier.
Interesting.
Okay. I give him a B plus. I love the Geno Stone sign. I think that's one of the steals of free agency. Trent Brown, I think, is going to be pretty good for them. Zach Moss, I think, is an upgrade from Joe Mixon. I do think the DJ Reader loss is going to hurt us a lot, but I think the Bengals did, like Nick said, they're just going to look a lot different. But they did what good teams do, and they have people at positions to where they don't have to rely on the draft. Like, and now in the draft, they can go defensive tackle, they can go wide receiver, they can go offensive line. They're not pigeonholed to one area because they've made moves to bring guys you feel comfortable with them playing. So they don't have to do that. So I think for that reason, I give them a B plus. But it is going to be different. But I think they did pretty well. All right. We should probably start shortening.
I was gonna say
I agree.
it's 6:20 already.
Yeah.
We're going to have this for 50 minutes?
Roughly.
No, that's crazy. It's been 18
All right, yeah, we seriously got to get this going. We got 40 minutes till we get chases.
All right. AFC South, we got the Texans. They signed Danielle Hunter for 2 years, $49 million. They traded for Joe Mixon. They signed Azeez Al-Shaair for 3 years, $34 million. Brought back Dalton Schultz. I'll start with their grade. I'm going to give them an A minus. I think they did really good. Like Nick said, alluded to earlier, they were kind of building to this, and they kind of went all in this year. They got Danielle Hunter, who's a great pass rusher. He had double-digit sacks this past year. Then they brought in Joe Mixon, who I think is a lot better than their running backs were before. And they're just kind of upgrading and building that team around C.J. Stroud, who already has proven to be a top quarterback, and they already made the playoffs with that roster. So I think them just kind of getting big upgrades, I think, is going to be huge. So I got them A minus.
I'm going to give them an A minus as well. I think the Texans had one of the most standout off seasons. They're going to be a very hard team to contend with this year. That's for sure. Joe Mixon was definitely a good addition. That's a best running back by far on that team now. I like bringing Dalton Schultz back a lot. Danielle Hunter's got a good addition. I think they've placed themselves in a good contender position.
They just got deeper. They got so much deeper this offseason. I'm going to give them an A for that reason. You build off of it. You, like Nick said, you go all in. You prove that you guys are capable
You got a
of
QB
it.
on a rookie deal.
You go all in right now. This is the opportunity and the time that you do it.
Yeah.
So I'm giving them an A.
Yeah,
for their work.
the Texans are definitely in a Super Bowl window. I hate doing this, but I'm also going to give them an A. I think they had one of the best off seasons in the entire NFL.
Yep.
Joe Mixon is a huge upgrade from Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary. Danielle Hunter, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, double-digit sacks, probably one of the more underrated players in the league. Re-signing Dalton Schultz, I think, was huge. I think he was really good for them. Danico Autry, I think, is a really good player. Azeez Al-Shaair, I mean, like, they just loaded up with quality veterans, and you've got an elite quarterback on a rookie deal. This team is who I think replaced the Bengals in that upper echelon of AFC contenders. I would say that it's the Chiefs, Ravens, and Texans, and then the Bengals, I would say, are in that second tier. I think the Texans are really good. I think they're really good. And I hate that because I have to play them twice a year.
I can't wait for your preseason prediction.
Yeah, I'm not rolling with.
That's interesting.
That's an interesting take. I do like it. I think it's interesting to say the least. Yeah. It's good.
They're a good team, but I'm not ready to put them over a Burrow-led Bengals.
We'll get into that later.
That's a different podcast for
That's a different time.
So Jacksonville Jags up next. They signed Gabe Davis for 3 year, $39. Darnell Savage, 3 year, $21. one. They brought in Mitch Morse, 2-year, 10.5, and Eric Armstead for 3 years, 51 mil. They tagged Josh Allen and they traded for Mac Jones, which was useless.
That's interesting.
But I'm going to give them a B minus. I think, I think they brought in guys who helped them. I think Mitch Morse is definitely an upgrade to over Luke Fortner, but that offensive line still isn't great. Gabe Davis, I'm not super high on him. I don't think he's really that anything to write home about. So, and losing Calvin Ridley and replacing him with Gabe Davis, I don't think that's an upgrade. Darnell Savage is good. He helps them, and Eric Armstead, he's 31.
Yeah, but he's still
He's still a
but
beast.
he's still a
Yeah.
beast. So he'll help him on the defense of line for sure. But I just don't think they made any moves that really upped the needle. Kind of like how Nick said the Steelers did. Like they didn't really add like a whole lot for me to really kind of bump them up in the win count. But they should still be a pretty solid team with Trevor. So B minus is what I give.
Mac Jones is taking over eventually.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Quarterback of the future.
Quarterback of the future, Mac
Matthew
Jones.
McCorkle Jones.
2 claps on 3, 1, 2, 3, bam, bam.
I'm going to give him a B for all the same reasons, really. But that Mac Jones signing was just really out there.
It was a
one
trade.
That just really didn't make any sense to me.
He's still employed on
Like,
their team.
He's
still
employed.
That just really doesn't make sense to me.
Taken in the same draft class.
Well,
that's
I think every quarterback except Trevor Lawrence
team.
has them on a new team.
That class
And
was
Zach
not
Wilson,
good.
but Zach Wilson's trying to get
that
traded,
doesn't
but nobody
count.
wants him.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give them a B minus. I like the Mitch Morse signing. I think giving Foyce to Lucan contract extension was huge. I think he's a very underrated linebacker. Gabe Davis Calvin Ridley was going to be gone. Gabe Davis, you needed a guy to replace him. It's not really an upgrade, but it's better than nothing. I think the future of this team obviously is going to hinge on the play of Trevor Lawrence. We're still waiting for him to take that next step to become the Peyton Manning clone that he was destined to be out of college, and he just hasn't done that. So, I think they made moves. Oh, Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead's huge.
Yeah,
Eric
that's a
Armstead's
big
really
one.
good. I almost completely forgot about him. Eric Armstead increases that D-line tremendously, but, the future of this team is going to come down to Trevor Lawrence. So they got guys that can take them to that next level if he plays well, but we'll see.
I'm going to give him a B. You guys touched on basically all the reasons. I think they got better on defense, a lot better. They addressed a lot of needs on their defense, but you go from Gabe Davis, or go from Calvin Ridley to Gabe Davis. That's a pretty steep drop, so wide receiver room took a hit. You do still have Christian Kirk in there, but that's kind of where I'm falling right now.
All right, Nick, your Colts didn't add a whole lot of
They
people.
didn't, yeah,
but,
but they kept everyone.
Yeah, they re-signed. They extended Zaire Franklin, Michael Pittman Jr., Grover Stewart, Kenny Moore. They brought in Joe Flacco. So we'll start with you, Nick. How do you think Colts did?
I think I'm gonna also give them a B minus. It's a really different offseason from what a lot of teams in the NFL did. I do think that they had one of the best drafted cores in the league in terms of like players that have been drafted by one team. They had a really good spine with Michael Pittman, Kenny Moore, Zaire Franklin, etc. They kept all their main impact guys, which I think is huge. And if they continue to develop, this team can go somewhere if Anthony Richardson pans out like I think he's going to. But other than that, they didn't really do anything. The L'Jarius Sneed situation was weird. They were rumored to be in talks, and then they weren't in talks. And then the Titans got him, which we'll touch on them in a second. But I think getting Joe Flacco. Listen, I don't think that he's good. I think his burst with Cleveland's the equivalent to a dying dog having one last burst of energy before they get put down. But
Interesting.
yeah, I think that he will be a very good mentor.
Your analogies are something.
God,
I think that he is a very good mentor for Anthony Richardson, and he is a capable backup, I think, if he has to play. I hope that doesn't happen.
He's better than Gardner Minshew, probably.
I disagree with that.
actually,
I would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Never mind. I retract that statement.
But we were not paying Gardner Minshew. I think he got $25 million. We'll touch on that in a bit. But they didn't really make any massive signings, but they brought back everyone that mattered. So I'd give them a B minus.
For that reason, I'm going to give him a B. You brought in the guys that you needed to keep. You kept.
And Jonathan Taylor got an extension during the season last year. Like they've got their core set for the next about 3-4 years.
And you need to have that.
Yeah.
You can address needs in the draft. I feel overall that they took care of the things that they needed to take care of by bringing their guys back.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a B as well. I think they took care of business.
Take care of business.
I'll give them a C+. They didn't really do anything, but they re-signed everybody they needed to. Michael Pittman was the big one they needed to re-sign, so
I love how
not too bad.
I love how the Patriots did basically the same thing. Their only issue is they don't have a quarterback, and we all gave them C's and D's.
I gave him a C+.
That's why I give them a C.
The Patriots was a lot different, though, because the Colts have good players that they're rolling with.
Yeah, the
This
Colts'
fair.
core
That's
is a
fair.
lot better than the Patriots.
It is, but at the same
at all.
time, but at the same time, we're like, oh, they re-signed all their guys, they got the job done.
Yeah. All right, now the Titans. They had an interesting offseason. They signed Tony Pollard for 3 years, 24 mil. Lloyd Cushenberry for 4 years, 50. They brought in Chidobe Awuzie. They brought in Calvin Ridley for 4 years, 92 mil. I'm forgetting anybody.
Jerry Sneed, they got in trade.
They just traded for Jerry Sneed. I knew I was forgetting somebody. And Kenneth Murray as well. So yeah, Joel, you said you liked him. What's your grade?
I'm gonna give them a B+. I think you brought in a new regime, and with that new regime, there's going to be a little turnover. You bring in some of your guys that you've had in the past, Chidobe, for example, and then you go out and get your number one guy that you feel is going to take that step. That's going to help you set the foundation with that offense, Calvin Ridley. Tony Pollard's in there too. You get a guy on the offensive line that they needed with one of their centers. Their center was leaving that left. I think they address needs. Do I think that they still have plenty of them? Yes. But a lot could have taken place this offseason for them, and I feel like they made moves to get them better. So I'm going to give them a B.
I'm going to give these guys a... I'm going to give them a B-. Overall, I like what they did. I like the addition of Tony Pollard. I think Brian Callahan will hopefully do a solid job for him. L'Jarius Sneed that's a great addition. The one that I'm not overjoyed about is, like you said, he's like their guy now. I don't really love the Calvin Ridley addition. I think that they overpaid for him. That's my reason. They gave him a 4-year deal worth like what was it, $95 million?
92.
Dude's like 30, and he really was extraordinarily inconsistent last year, with a far better quarterback in Trevor Lawrence than Will Levis. So I don't love that signing solely for the fact that I think they really overpaid for him. But overall, I like what they did overall. That's kind of my stick in the thumb mud moment thing. Don't love that. They overpaid for him. Other than that, I like it.
I'm going to give them a C-. I am not as high.
Bias.
Maybe. That might be the case. I'm less scared of the Titans today than I was when we played them in Week 5 last year. I think Tony Pollard's a downgrade from Derrick Henry.
Well,
I think giving Calvin Ridley $92 million is a joke.
Yeah, that's
I think that's absurd for a guy that was, like you said, extremely inconsistent last year. Chidobe Awuzie has a ton of injury problems.
He's just out of his prime.
Yeah,
that's really the thing with him.
like
He was
stuff-
great for the Bengals. He's just out of his prime.
Yeah, 36 mil, 23 mil guaranteed for a guy that has injury issues and is out of his prime.
Yeah.
I don't love that
Sneed.
either. Well, Jerry Sneed is a good corner.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good move. That was the only good move that I think they made. But I mean, as it stands right now, they're probably going to get like Joe Alt in the draft.
Yeah, that's
if
going
I
to be
were
huge.
take a guess.
But see, my main thing is they
Not
are
only is that going to be massive, he is
He is.
massive.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
they are still led by Will Levis, and I am not sure about this guy.
The
Still,
jury's still out on Will Levis.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm not scared of this Titans team. That's just how it is. So
Yeah, I'm going to give them a B-. I think Tony Pollard, I don't think they really needed him. I like Tajay Spears, and I think they're basically the same running back. Lloyd Cushenberry was good. He's a good center. Chidobe was decent, helps him in their corner, but he is out of his prime and probably slightly overpaid. Calvin Ridley, I agree with Zach. I think he was definitely overpaid. You come out with a receiver now of Traylon Burks, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that's anything to write home about. But I think the L'Jarius Sneed trade is what kind of brings their grade up. I mean, they traded him for, a third? And
a third and a swap of sevens.
yeah, and people were saying that the Chiefs could get a first or a second out of him. They only got him for a third, so I think.
What are we doing?
Yeah, so I think.
What are we doing?
So I think that's great. Like Nick said, L'Jarius Sneed is
trade him to the
a
Bengals?
phenomenal corner. So that's why I give them a B minus.
You're an
The rest
idiot.
of their moves are kind of
Their arch nemesis
Why on earth would they trade their best corner?
to the only
the
team
only
that's
team
kept
that's
out of the
beat
Super
'em.
Bowl.
Yeah, they would never do that. But
That's the dumbest thing.
speaking of the Chiefs, let's head into the AFC West now. Like I just said, they traded L'Jarius Sneed. They signed Marquise Brown. That was their big one. And they signed Bengals legend Irv Smith.
Yeah! Good riddance.
Yeah, we'll start with you. What do you grade Kansas City's offseason?
I'm going to give the Chiefs offseason I'm going to give them a C+.
That's crazy.
That is
They
crazy.
also,
That's crazy.
re-signed Chris Jones for 5
Oh,
years.
I forgot
150.
about that. I'm going to give them
Yeah.
a B-.
I forgot to mention that.
That's the biggest move they made.
That's like the biggest move in all of free agency.
based on what they did without that, a C.
You know who
Okay.
else they brought? They got the punt guy.
Yeah, they got
the punt god.
No, I'm going to give them a B+ here. I really don't think the Chiefs did anything wild except for bringing back Chris Jones. But see, here's the thing, though. They have Patrick Mahomes. They didn't need to. Patrick Mahomes can win a Super Bowl with a very much less than average offense around him. So,
You can win with toddlers.
yeah, so I don't think the Chiefs really had a notable offseason. They brought Chris Jones back. That's great. But, looking at it objectively, I think they had a very average offseason. They brought Chris Jones back. That's huge. They brought in Hollywood. That's pretty solid because he's a speed demon. But, I really don't think the Chiefs did anything crazy. I just think that they had Patrick Mahomes and they brought in a couple of dudes that they needed to. So I'm going to give them a B-.
Yeah, I am going to give them an A-.
Holy crap,
I
dude.
think that
What?
re-signing Chris Jones is massive.
For the defense.
That is gargantuan.
He's also 31, too.
It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't
He's the
matter.
best defensive tackle
Yeah,
in the league.
he's Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter if you have a Hall of Fame caliber player like the Chiefs have and Chris Jones, and you give him a blank check and you keep him on your team. I also think signing Hollywood for $11 million is
Was a steal.
really good. That was a steal. It's not like Hollywood is an elite wide receiver one, but they needed someone.
We just talked
He
about
can
this
be an
before.
elite wide
Yeah,
receiver
that's
with
what I'm
Patrick
saying.
Mahomes.
We talked about this beforehand. It just when you saw him that he signed with the Chiefs, it made sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Send him on a streak and throw the ball to him, and he'll score a touchdown on 50% of the plays.
His big thing is staying healthy.
Yeah, Drew Tranquill is a decent linebacker. Matt Araiza, I'm glad he's in the league.
Yes.
Glad he got his name cleared. Signed for the league minimum. He's a beast. If you've seen his highlights,
He can-
90 yards.
yeah.
That's gonna be
Yeah, it's good. It's good that he's. I want to say, yeah, it's good he's back in the league. Got his name cleared. I think that was huge for their special teams. I love what they did in the offseason. They were already obviously an elite team. I think that they're basically the same team, but they added Hollywood. So I think they're slightly better than what they were.
Which is why
and don't
I said,
get me-
that's why I said a B-. They're the same team, it's just they added Hollywood.
And don't get me wrong, the big losing L'Jarius is gonna be.
And
something.
They
There's
already
that,
have.
But
Trent
they already.
McDuffie.
Yeah, I know.
They don't need him.
I know, but I'm just saying that's still gonna
No,
play
yeah.
it's gonna play an impact. I'm gonna give him a B+ though. For the exact same reasons that Nick brought up. My only reason why I didn't give him an A is because of L'Jarius Sneed.
I just like looking at what they did in the offseason. They didn't this is the same team we just saw except for the addition of Hollywood and a punter.
The team we just saw just won the
This
Super
team-
I
yeah,
know.
the team we
They
just
just
saw
won
in
the Super Bowl.
I know. I'm just saying that I don't think they made any huge moves.
Yeah.
They don't need to. They've got the.
That's what I'm saying.
They've got the Michael Jordan.
They didn't come out and have an A+ draft off season. They didn't need to.
Yeah, watch when they draft Keon Coleman at 32 and then cry about it.
So dumb.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Why do you like the Chiefs
I
so
don't like
much?
the Chiefs.
They're
I
in your
just-
dang conference
They're
too.
they're just
elite.
Yeah.
They're
Of
just
course,
elite.
the year that they win the Super Bowl and need receivers is the year that the receiver room
In
is
abundance.
the best it's been in a long time.
The NFL is rigged towards the Chiefs. Too.
But yeah, I'm gonna give him a B+ as well.
Good
I think
Lord,
re-signing
Zach.
Chris Jones is huge. Trading the Jerry Sneed hurts. I thought they could have got a little bit more, like I just mentioned earlier. But Marquise Brown, I mean, he's definitely a bigger upgrade than he's the best receiver by far.
Rasheed Rice.
Him and Rasheed
I
Rice.
think Rasheed Rice ain't bad, honestly.
But he's a bigger upgrade. He's basically going to fill in for MVS, and he's a lot better than MVS.
Definitely.
And then I think one of the more interesting signings that just happened a couple days ago is they signed a rugby star
Yes.
He's a speedster.
who ran a 4.43. He's probably going to be our generation's Chris Hogan. Some dude off a random sport who the quarterback just makes a really good receiver. So that'll be fun. I think he ran like 22. I think he ran faster than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Like, I think he ran like 22 something miles per hour, which was faster than Tyreek Hill this year. So that's fun.
Of course he did.
And then yeah, like Nick said, they're gonna draft a stud receiver at the back end of the first round, and they're gonna have a really good receiving core again, which is gonna suck. So B+. All right, the Raiders. They made a couple moves.
The Raiders.
Raiders. Let me go to the Raiders here.
Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, they signed Christian Wilkins. That's their big one.
Gardner
Gardner
Minshew.
Minshew. They lost Josh Jacobs. They signed Alexander Madison. They released Jimmy G and Hunter Renfrow. Yeah.
I think they got a good D-line. I'll give them a C off-season. Christian Wilkins is a great signing, but I don't think they really did anything too wild. Losing Josh Jacobs hurt. Wow. Losing Josh Jacobs hurts. Alexander Madison will be okay. This is a C off-season.
C+.
I think I will also give them a C. They signed mustachioed Colts legend Gardner Minshew.
Mustachio.
Christian Wilkins is huge. One of the bigger signings of free agency. He's one of the best D tackles.
They have a
in the
nasty
league.
defensive line.
Yeah, their defensive line's nasty, but I mean
They don't have a secondary.
Yeah,
Or any other position.
they have Devontae Adams.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know how much.
What,
longer
somebody said in one of our podcasts that the Raiders having Devontae Adams is like...
that was me.
Oh, yeah.
I said the Raiders having Devontae Adams is like having a Lamborghini and like a dilapidated house.
It's like having a Ferrari in a
Yeah,
freaking,
it's like that picture.
in like the Troy Historical District or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll give them a C+ as well.
Doucette would get that
Their
reference.
defensive line with Christian Wilkins, Tyree Wilson, and Max Crosby should be really good. Gardner Minshew is a lot better than Jimmy G and Aiden O'Connell. Alexander Madison is fine, but he's no Josh Jacobs. And then, I mean, they saved some cap space with cutting Hunter Renfrow and Jimmy G, so I thought it was okay. Nothing too crazy. All right, now we'll move on to the Chargers.
Oh, this one.
The Chargers,
It's something.
they
It is something.
They signed Gus Edwards. That's really about all they did.
Hey,
Well, I will take it from
pause.
They brought
Nick Martini.
Did he hit a home run?
He hit a double.
Hey.
Two RBI double, baby. Let's go.
That's what you like to hear.
Nick Martini.
Reds legend Nick Martini.
Pence legend Nick.
Hey, while we're in this like segment that we're probably going to cut out, it's 6:41 and we haven't finished the AFC.
We're working on it.
We're getting quicker.
We're starting to. Trust me, I'm trying.
We're trying
These
to.
past two divisions have been 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, we're trying to.
Yeah, we're going.
And then they lost Austin Eckler, they lost Mike Williams, and they lost Keenan Allen. So it's kind of just Justin Herbert.
They get a D
D
minus.
Yep.
They
I'll give them that.
They did
Glad we agree.
nothing.
They lost
did
more
nothing.
people than they gained.
Guess what? No. The best signing that they had all off season, Easton Stick.
True.
I'm just kidding. It's
I was
Gus
going to give
Edwards.
him a lot higher, to be honest with
Why?
you. I was going to give him at least a C+.
No, Jim Harbaugh. Okay,
That's not a free agent.
that's not a free
Yeah,
agent.
that doesn't count here.
That's an off-season grade? All
All right.
All right.
Zach, this is free agency grades.
All right! Then give him a mother freaking D. I don't care. Gosh, they brought in Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is not bad. Austin Eckler's out. Keenan Allen's out. That was a stupid thing. Keenan Allen, that was dumb.
They traded Keenan Allen for a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
No, they did an F. They didn't do anything. it's like
They didn't do a thing.
it's like a barren wasteland in terms of
They
talent.
didn't do a thing.
Their wide receiver one's Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
They're expecting Quentin
And
Johnston
Quentin
to take
Johnston.
that big leap this year.
Yeah.
All right.
They restructured. They had to restructure Joey Bosa
was-
and Khalil Mack.
that was-
so they're
That was beautiful.
If we're not counting Jim Harbaugh, then yeah, these guys had like a D. I'll give
Yeah,
him
well,
a
Jim
D.
Harbaugh's a great coach, but he has
Yeah.
nothing to work with.
He has nothing right now
He's
except
got-
Which is
Herbert.
why I'm
got
interested.
Derwin James.
I'm interested to see what
And
they do with
Bosa
the
and
draft.
Khalil
Justin
Mack.
More play
Herbert.
defense.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert has a guy who has rocks for hands to throw to.
Hey, didn't they bring in a tight end?
I don't know. It
They
doesn't
brought in
matter.
Will Disley and
Hurst.
Hayden
Hurst, that's
They
right.
signed Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Still whatever. And then real quick, we'll gloss over the Broncos. I think this is another one where you can probably give them a D range because they released Russell Wilson and have $85 million in dead cap.
Yep.
Nah, they get an F.
They
too,
get an
bro.
F, bro.
and didn't sign any noteworthy players.
Little Jordan Humphreys. That's
Yeah, give him an F.
That
This is
Russell
the
Wilson
worst.
trade was
This is
so
the worst
bad.
offseason so far.
Oh, never mind, guys. They re-signed Will Lutz.
Oh gosh, this is the worst offseason that
Well,
has happened in the AFC. Those two
Alright.
teams are terrible.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our free agency grades. Let us know if you agree with our grades.
What grade you would give some teams if you disagree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, we're heading into draft season, which is always a good time.
Mock Draft 2.0 coming out soon.
In the next week or two.
Yeah.
Zach, what was that?
But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed.